My ex-husband invited me to his wedding with a much younger woman just to humiliate and mock me, but when he saw who I arrived with, his jaw dropped. Lena Kincaid, a successful mystery novelist at 45, often found a peculiar contrast between the quiet tranquility of her book-lined study and the inner turmoil that stirred when she held the wedding invitation in her hands. The elegant, stiff envelope seemed out of place among the routine bills and flyers in the Daily Mail. Opening it, the golden letters on ivory paper announced the upcoming marriage of her ex-husband, Ethan Reed, to Skylar Hayes, a woman notably younger than him. "This can't be real," Lena whispered, the crisp paper trembling in her fingers. That same afternoon, her friend Sierra Jones unexpectedly arrived. Seeing the somber expression on Lena's face, Sierra immediately knew something was wrong. "What is it, Lena?" Sierra asked, tossing her coat onto the back of a chair. Lena wordlessly passed her the invitation. Sierra read in silence, her dark eyes narrowing slightly. "You're going, right?" The concern in Sierra's voice was evident. "I'm considering it. It's obvious this is a game for him, a way to show me he's moved on, perhaps even to humiliate me." Lena's voice cracked, revealing a blend of anger and pain. Sierra moved closer and took Lena's hands in hers, offering silent support before speaking. "Lena, you aren't the same woman he left behind. You've grown. You've healed. Going to that wedding could be your way of showing him he has no power over you anymore." Sierra's words lit a spark of determination in Lena's eyes. It was true. She was no longer a leaf carried by the wind of circumstance, but a woman who had learned to weather storms with grace. "You're right. I'll go, but I'll do it my way. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to close this chapter of my life once and for all," Lena declared, her resolve strengthening with every word. Sierra smiled, her confidence in Lena unwavering. "How about you find someone stunning to accompany you? Someone who will truly make Ethan regret any intention of mocking you?" The idea was appealing, a sweet mix of vengeance and dignity. Lena paused for a moment, then nodded with a playful smile. "That sounds like exactly what I need. I'll make this wedding unforgettable, not just for Ethan, but for me too." With the plan forming in her mind, Lena felt revitalized. She wouldn't just face the ghosts of her past, she would do it with her head held high, escorted by someone who would ensure all eyes were on her for the right reasons. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in fiery hues, Lena sat down at her computer, her fingers dancing across the keyboard with renewed energy, planning not just her next novel, but the next, decisive confrontation in her personal life. The next morning, Lena woke with an unusual mix of nerves and resolve. Sierra's words echoed in her mind. Turn that wedding into her stage, a moment to prove she wasn't the fragile woman Ethan once discarded. While sipping her coffee in the study, a name surfaced: Julian Vance, an actor famous for his charisma and enigmatic demeanor. She'd met him at a literary event the year before and remembered his charm and his knack for reading people. It wasn't a conventional idea, but it was exactly what she needed. Julian wouldn't just turn heads. He would shield her dignity in a hostile environment. Picking up her phone, she found his number, which she'd saved after that event. She hesitated for a few seconds before dialing. "Julian, it's Lena Kincaid. I don't know if you remember me," she said, her tone trying to sound more assured than she felt. "Lena Kincaid? The author? Of course, I remember you. To what do I owe the honor of your call?" he replied, his voice relaxed and curious. Lena explained her situation, measuring every word to avoid revealing the deep vulnerability that motivated her. When she finished, there was a brief silence on the other end of the line. "I accept," Julian said with a disarming confidence. "It sounds interesting, and honestly, like a perfect novel plot. I can't resist." Days later, Julian arrived at Lena's house to discuss the details. His presence filled the room with an energy built for the spotlight, but he also had a warmth that disarmed her. Lena offered him coffee as she reviewed the plan. "I need this to be flawless. I need Ethan to understand he can't hurt me anymore, and I need everyone else to see it too," Lena said with a frankness that surprised even herself. Trust me. We won't just look like the most elegant couple at that wedding. We'll make him question every decision he's made since he left you, Julian responded, smiling with a touch of complicity. Lena couldn't help but laugh at his certainty, a wave of relief slowly sliding through her veins. I don't know how to thank you for this. You'll thank me when you see his face, he replied with a wink. As the preparations progressed, Lena began receiving unexpected calls and messages. Relatives who had barely kept in touch now seemed interested in the details of her attendance. Among them was a call from her sister Chloe, whose relationship with Lena had been strained for years due to a past conflict. Are you really planning on going to that wedding? Chloe asked without preamble. Of course. Why wouldn't I? Lena replied, maintaining her composure. Because you know how Ethan is. This won't be a reconciliation or a moment of redemption. This is going to be a war disguised as a celebration. Chloe's words hung heavy in the air. Lena knew her sister was right on some level, but decided not to show her concern. I'm not going to let him dictate what I do or how I live my life. This time, I'm playing by my rules. Just be careful. Ethan is not just a manipulator. He's a man with secrets, and not all of them are harmless, Chloe warned, before abruptly hanging up. Chloe's warning stayed with Lena, fueling her doubts, but also igniting her curiosity. What secrets could she be hinting at? That night, Lena decided to search for information about Ethan, something she hadn't done in years. What she found left her uneasy. Records of shady business dealings, connections to influential but questionable people. There were photos of Ethan with grim-faced men at meetings where shadows seemed more important than names. Lena shared her findings with Julian the next day while they finalized the details of their grand entrance at the wedding. This isn't just a wedding, Julian. I think there's more behind all this. Something I still can't quite grasp, Lena confessed, with a mix of fear and determination. Then we'll find out. In the meantime, we'll do what we went there to do, steal the show and prove you no longer live under his shadow, Julian replied with reassuring firmness. As the wedding day approached, the tension mounted. Lena felt she was not only facing Ethan, but also a past full of secrets and betrayals. What should have been a simple act of personal vindication was starting to look more like a chess game where the pieces weren't fully in sight. The wedding day arrived with sunny weather, an ironic contrast to the tension Lena felt. The dress she chose, a bold and elegant emerald-toned design, highlighted not only her figure, but her confidence. Julian, in an impeccably tailored suit, waited for her by the door of the luxury sedan they had rented to arrive in style. Upon seeing her, he smiled with genuine admiration. "You're going to leave more than one person speechless," he said, offering her his arm. "I hope so. Though there's something else I need to uncover today," Lena replied, revealing the mix of nerves and determination that overwhelmed her. The ceremony venue was the Ashford Manor, a lavish estate in Westchester County, New York, surrounded by immaculate gardens and an opulence that seemed designed more to impress than to celebrate. Upon arrival, Lena and Julian walked the stone path leading to the main courtyard, immediately drawing all eyes. Conversation stopped, as if someone had turned down the volume on the party. Ethan, standing next to Skylar, his young fiancée, couldn't hide his reaction when he saw them. His jaw tightened, and although he tried to quickly compose himself, Julian noticed. "There's your initial victory," Julian whispered, giving Lena's arm a squeeze. "This is just the beginning," she replied with calculated calm, never taking her eyes off Ethan. During the reception, guests seemed unable to stop talking about Lena and her escort. Amidst the whispers, some tried to approach her, more out of curiosity than courtesy. Among them was Beth, Ethan's sister, a woman known for her sharp tongue and tendency to pry. "Lena, darling, I didn't expect to see you here, although, of course, you've always loved drama," Beth said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Lena took a deep breath before responding. "It's a special occasion, and I thought I deserved to come celebrate. Ethan and I shared years together, even if not all of them were happy," she said, carefully choosing every word. Beth looked at her with a mixture of disdain and curiosity, before adding, "Well, It's good to see you moving on, though I wonder if it was necessary to bring someone so noticeable. A message for Ethan, perhaps? Before Lena could answer, Julian stepped in. If the message is that Lena is doing incredibly well and surrounded by people who value her, then yes, I think the message is clear, he said with a smile that disarmed Beth. Lena used the pause to slip away, leaving Beth with a look of confusion. As she walked toward the bar with Julian, a familiar shadow appeared in front of them. Ethan had decided to approach, his expression a mix of false cordiality and something darker. "Lena, I'm glad you came," he said with a tone that didn't fully mask his irony. His eyes briefly flickered toward Julian before he added, "And with company, I see." Lena looked him directly in the eyes, her words charged with a confidence that had once been hard to find. "Of course, I wouldn't miss the opportunity to wish you both the best. After all, it's always nice to see others find their happiness." Ethan's smile tightened, and for a second, Lena thought she saw something like resentment cross his face. "I hope you're enjoying the party. Though I doubt all this spectacle is really necessary, don't you think?" Ethan said, lowering his voice so only she could hear him. Before Lena could respond, Julian stepped forward, placing a protective hand on her back. "Lena enjoys herself wherever she goes. It's one of the things I admire most about her. And speaking of spectacle, I find the event quite fascinating so far," Julian said with a sharp smile. Ethan took a step back, clearly irritated, but said no more. He turned and disappeared among the guests as Lena exhaled a sigh of relief. "Thank you for that," she said, looking at him gratefully. "That's what I'm here for." "Although I think that man is plotting something," Julian replied, his gaze following Ethan in the distance. Later, as the party continued, Lena decided to explore the estate a little. Her steps led her to a small library, a space set apart from the main celebration. In one corner, she found a door slightly ajar, leading to a private office. Curiosity overcame protocol, and she entered. On the desk were scattered papers. Some were legal documents. Others seemed to be invoices, but what caught her attention was a folder marked with a name she recognized from her recent searches, one of Ethan's associates known for his links to illicit activities. Opening it, she found a contract and printed emails that hinted Ethan was using his wedding as a front to close a significant business deal. One of the letters even mentioned Skylar as a key figure in the agreement. Though the context wasn't clear, the air grew heavy as Lena processed what she saw. Ethan wasn't just manipulating Skylar. He seemed to be involved in something much bigger than she had imagined. The sound of approaching footsteps startled her out of her trance. She quickly closed the folder and slipped out of the office, her heart pounding hard. She barely managed to hide behind a bookshelf when Ethan entered, accompanied by a man she didn't recognize. "Everything is ready. I just need Skylar to sign those papers and the deal will be closed," Ethan said. "I hope you have everything under control. It wouldn't be good for your ex-wife or anyone else to interfere," the man replied. Lena held her breath. The tension was palpable, and every word confirmed she was dealing with something much more dangerous than she had anticipated. As the men left the office, she knew she couldn't stand idly by. The celebration continued with an overflowing luxury that could barely camouflage the latent tensions among the guests. Lena, following her discovery in the office, returned to the main hall with a mixture of apprehension and resolve. Every word Ethan had said resonated in her mind. The folder she found not only confirmed her suspicions, but entangled her in a dangerous plot. She decided she had to act, but she couldn't do it alone. Julian approached her as she held a glass of wine, her face more serious than usual. "Are you all right? You look like you've seen a ghost," he said quietly, looking around to ensure no one else was listening. "We need to talk." "But not here," Lena replied, trying to maintain her composure. Julian nodded discreetly. Minutes later, they both slipped away to one of the secluded gardens of the estate. There, under the string lights that flickered like artificial fireflies, Lena told him what she had found in the office. Ethan is using this wedding as a front to close a shady business deal. Skylar is involved, but I think she doesn't know what she's really signing. The whole thing is a setup, Lena said, her voice heavy with a mix of anger and frustration. Julian listened intently, his expression changing from astonishment to concern. If this is bigger than I imagined, if what you're saying is true, Skylar could be in danger. What do you plan to do? Lena looked toward the ballroom, where Skylar laughed with a group of guests, oblivious to the storm brewing. I can't stay quiet. I need to warn her, but it won't be easy. Ethan is always close to her, and if he suspects anything, he could become aggressive. Julian took her by the shoulders, looking her directly in the eyes. You're not alone in this. I'll do whatever it takes to help you, but we have to be careful. This man doesn't play fair, and you're already on his radar. Later, Lena managed to pull Skylar aside again, taking advantage of a moment when Ethan was busy attending to some business partners. This time, she didn't mince words. Skylar, I know it's hard to believe me, but Ethan is not the man you think he is. He's using your name to cover illegal activities. These documents prove it, Lena said, showing her the papers she had taken. Skylar looked at them in disbelief, her first reaction being to deny everything. This makes no sense. Ethan would never do something like this. He loves me, and he's been clear with me from the start. Lena took a deep breath, trying to keep her cool. Can you honestly tell me you've never noticed anything strange, that you've never felt there are things Ethan isn't telling you? Please just look at these documents and think about what I'm telling you. Skylar took the papers with trembling hands. As she read, her expression changed. Doubt began to settle in her eyes, and a single tear rolled down her cheek. Why would he do something like this? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Because it's not about love, Skylar. It's about control and ambition. You're just a pawn in his game, Lena replied, touching her arm gently. Before Skylar could respond, Ethan appeared on the terrace, his face marked by contained fury, but his smile remained glacial. What's going on here? He asked, looking at the papers Skylar held. Lena stood her ground. For the first time, she wasn't afraid to confront him. I'm showing her the truth, Ethan, the truth you've tried to hide from her. Ethan took a step toward Skylar, deliberately ignoring Lena. Skylar, don't listen to this woman. This is a desperate attempt to ruin what she's never gotten over, us. And now she's trying to destroy our happiness. Skylar, still holding the papers, took a step back, clearly torn between the love she believed she felt and the evidence in front of her. I don't know what to think, Ethan. This doesn't make sense, but it looks real. Ethan took her by the shoulders, his tone transforming into a whisper full of persuasion. Skylar, don't let Lena poison your mind. This is all a lie. You have to trust me. Before Skylar could answer, Julian appeared, interposing himself between Ethan and Lena. I think you've said enough, Ethan. Maybe it's time you explained what these documents actually mean, Julian said, his voice firm and challenging. The confrontation drew the attention of several guests who began to approach, curious about the tense exchange. Beth, who had been observing from a distance, decided to intervene. What is going on here? She asked, her tone authoritative. Lena turned to her, holding the documents high. Your brother is using this wedding as a screen for illegal business. These documents prove it. Skylar is being manipulated. Beth looked at the papers, her expression shifting from disbelief to something more complex. She knew Ethan had a dark side, but she had never imagined him going this far. Ethan, feeling control slipping away, raised his voice. This is an orchestrated attack to destroy me. Lena has always been resentful, and now she's found this B-list actor to help her with her vendetta. The hall was silent, all eyes fixed on the confrontation. Skylar, unable to process everything, dropped the documents to the floor and ran toward the garden. Lena tried to follow her, but Ethan blocked her path. I won't give any more warnings, Lena. If you keep this up, you'll regret it, he said, his voice low and threatening. Julian stepped forward. You can't intimidate her anymore, Ethan. This game is over. The silence that had enveloped the room broke with the murmurs of the guests. Gazes crossed, some incredulous, others full of curiosity and judgment. Ethan remained rigid, projecting an image of control, but the slight twitch in his jaw betrayed his contained anger. Lena, motionless in front of him, felt a strange, powerful relief at seeing the truth finally exposed. But the game wasn't over yet, and she knew it. Julian broke the silence. "The evidence is right there, Ethan. You can try to deny it in front of your associates, but I doubt they want to get involved with someone who risks being exposed so publicly," he said, pointing to the documents still lying on the floor. Ethan shot a furious glance at Julian, but before he could reply, Beth intervened. "Is there any truth to all this, Ethan?" she asked with a mix of disbelief and reproach. "Of course not," Ethan exclaimed, his tone echoing in the hall. "This is an elaborate trap. Lena has always had a sick obsession with me. Now she's recruited this man to stage this circus." Beth didn't look convinced. Her gaze shifted to the documents on the floor and then to Skylar, who had returned to the hall with reddened eyes. Skylar took a step forward, weakly holding onto a railing. Her voice cracked. "Is it true, Ethan? Have you used me?" she asked, barely able to keep her eyes fixed on him. Ethan stepped toward her, his hands raised as if trying to calm her. "Skylar, my love, don't listen to these lies. Everything I've done has been for us, for our future. These people are trying to destroy what we have, but—" Skylar did not step back. Something inside her, an intuition she had ignored for months, now roared fiercely. She picked up one of the documents from the floor and held it up to him. "This has my signature. I don't remember signing this. What is this?" Ethan's facade of calm began to crumble. For a moment, he was silent, as if searching for the right words, but the truth was written on his face. "I wasn't going to hurt you. It was just a temporary formality. You'd understand if you gave me a chance to explain." Lena stepped forward, her voice firm but charged with emotion. "Temporary? Is that what you tell her? This doesn't just involve her legally, Ethan. This makes her a pawn in a game you know can end very badly, all for your ambitions." Skylar dropped the papers to the floor, her face reflecting a mixture of horror and betrayal. "This can't be happening. I trusted you. I loved you. I loved you," she cried before running toward the garden, leaving the commotion of the hall behind. Lena followed her. She knew Skylar needed time, but she also knew that leaving her alone with her emotions could be dangerous. She found her at the edge of a fountain, looking at the water as tears streamed down her face. "I'm so sorry, Skylar. I wanted to tell you sooner, but I didn't know how. I wanted to protect you from all this," Lena said, sitting next to her. "Protect me from what? What good is it? Everything is destroyed now. Everything I believed about him, about what we had," Skylar replied between sobs. Lena put a hand on her shoulder, her own voice breaking slightly. "What you had wasn't real, but that doesn't mean you can't find something true in the future. You're young, smart, and you have the strength to overcome this." Skylar looked up, her eyes meeting Lena's. "And how did you overcome it? How did you endure being with someone like that?" Lena took a deep breath before answering. "At first I didn't overcome it. I let myself be consumed by guilt, pain, and resentment. But over time, I learned that I couldn't let Ethan define my life. You can do it too, but you have to start by confronting him." Meanwhile, in the hall, Ethan had lost his patience. His facade of the charming man had crumbled, and rage consumed him. Julian stayed nearby, watching every move as the guests murmured among themselves. Beth finally spoke. "I can't believe you took things this far, Ethan. I always knew you were ambitious, but this is despicable." Ethan spun toward her, his eyes full of fury. "You don't understand anything. Everything I've done has been to protect our family, our legacy. If you don't like it, it's because you don't have the vision to see it." Beth shook her head, her expression loaded with disappointment. "I'm not sure you're capable of protecting anything you don't understand. Family is not something you manipulate for profit. Maybe it's time you face the consequences of your actions." Julian then intervened, his voice sharp as a razor. "The consequences are closer than you think, Ethan. If Skylar decides to go to the police with those documents, your little empire could fall apart." The tension in the hall culminated when Skylar returned, her face calmer but filled with determination. Ethan tried to approach her, but she stopped him with a gesture. "This ends here, Ethan. Not just our relationship, but everything you are doing. I will not be complicit in your crimes." The silence in the hall was profound. Skylar, standing amid the crowd, had pronounced her words with a resolve no one expected. Ethan, trapped between his fury and his powerlessness, tried to regain control of the situation. "Skylar, don't do this. Talking publicly about these matters will only complicate things further. We can resolve this between us," he said, his tone trying to be conciliatory, but charged with threat. Skylar looked him directly in the eye, tears still lingering, but her voice did not waver. "Resolve it? How? With more lies? By manipulating my life more? No, you can't control me anymore. This ends today." The guests began to murmur, some with accusatory looks toward Ethan, others simply reveling in the unexpected spectacle. Beth, who had remained on the sidelines, decided to step in. "I think we've heard enough, Ethan. You can't keep hiding your actions. If this party was a screen for your business, then you have to face the consequences." Ethan turned toward her, his face red with rage. "You too! You've always been a traitor disguised as an ally!" he shouted, losing his composure completely. Julian stepped forward. "That's enough, Ethan. You don't have anyone backing you anymore. It's time to face the truth." As the tension escalated in the hall, Lena found her opportunity. She approached Skylar, who was still trembling, and spoke to her quietly. "If you're scared, I can go with you. You don't have to do it alone, but you need to make a decision now. Every second that passes, he finds a new way to defend himself." Skylar nodded, taking a breath to calm herself. "I'm calling the police. I can't let him keep doing this, not just to me, but to everyone he has manipulated." Lena squeezed her arm gently, her gesture a silent promise of support. Skylar headed toward the door, pulling out her phone, while Julian and Lena followed her to ensure she was safe. Inside the hall, Ethan began to understand that his time had run out. Some important guests, who clearly didn't want to be involved, began to discreetly retreat. Beth remained in her place, looking at him with a mixture of disappointment and pity. "I told you, Ethan, you can't build an empire on lies without it all crumbling one day." Ethan, now cornered, turned to her with a bitter smile. "You always enjoyed watching me fall, didn't you? Well, congratulations. You got your wish." Before he could say anything else, sirens wailed in the distance. The police arrived quickly, entering the hall with determined steps. Skylar guided them, holding the documents that incriminated Ethan. The officers approached him, surrounding him. "Ethan Reed, you are under arrest for fraud, money laundering, and other charges that will be detailed later. You have the right to remain silent," the lead officer said as they placed the handcuffs on him. Ethan initially resisted, but realizing he had no escape, his shoulders slumped in an image of absolute defeat. Before being led away, he turned to Lena, his eyes full of resentment. "I hope this makes you happy. You ruined my life." Lena didn't respond immediately. Instead, she looked at him with a mixture of compassion and firmness. "You ruined your own life, Ethan. I just made sure the truth got the last word." The hall was left with an echo of murmurs and exposed secrets. Skylar, exhausted but relieved, sat down next to Lena at one of the empty tables. "Thank you for not giving up on me. I don't know what I would have done without your help," Skylar said, her voice still trembling. Lena smiled at her, her eyes full of empathy. "The important thing is that you made a brave decision. Not many would have. This won't be easy, but it's the first step to getting your life back." Julian joined them, placing a hand on Skylar's shoulder. "You have a lot of people around you who are willing to support you. Never forget that." Skylar nodded with a small smile beginning to break through the tears. Later, as the night wore on and the manor fell silent, Lena and Julian met in the garden, away from the chaos. The moon shone over them, illuminating their faces with a soft, serene light. "Do you think Ethan will ever change?" Lena asked, looking up at the stars. "It's hard to say. But if I learned anything from all this, it's that even the worst people can find redemption if they are willing to face the truth," Julian replied. Lena looked at him, her expression thoughtful. "I learned something too, that even in the darkest moments, there is always an opportunity to do the right thing. We just need the courage to take it." Julian smiled, his eyes twinkling with admiration. "You are stronger than you think, Lena. I believe today you not only helped Skylar, but you also helped yourself." Lena didn't reply, but her smile said it all. For the first time in years, she felt peace. She had confronted Ethan, not just for Skylar, but for herself, and in that process, she had closed a chapter that had defined her life for too long. A few days later, the sunrise brought a fresh air that seemed to sweep away the last vestiges of the storm that had rocked Skylar and Lena's lives. The Ashford Manor, which had been an emotional battleground just hours before, was now empty, like a stage after a particularly dramatic play. Lena was in her study a few days later, surrounded by her books and notebooks, when she heard a soft knock at the door. Opening it, she found Skylar with a shy smile and a renewed sparkle in her eyes. She looked stronger, more centered. "I hope I'm not interrupting, but I wanted to thank you again for not giving up on me, for pushing me to see what was in front of me," Skylar said, holding a small, carefully wrapped package. Lena smiled and invited her in. "You don't have to thank me. You made the hardest decision. What is that?" she asked, pointing to the package. Skylar extended it toward her. "It's a copy of the official waivers for all the contracts Ethan forced me to sign. My lawyers say I'm completely free now. I wanted to share it with you because you made this possible." Lena, moved, took the package and placed it on her desk. Then she looked at Skylar with a warm smile. "This is the start of something new for you. Do you have plans?" she asked, genuinely interested. Skylar nodded, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "I've decided to move to Paris for a while. I want to study art, something I always wanted to do but never dared to try. I think it's time to live for myself." Lena hugged her, feeling an unexpected but welcome pride. "That is an incredible decision. You deserve every good thing coming your way." As Skylar embarked on her new chapter, Lena was also experiencing changes. She had finished her latest novel, inspired by the events of the wedding. The story was not only a personal catharsis, but also a reflection on the power of truth and courage. Her editor, excited by the manuscript, told her it was the best thing she had written to date. A few weeks later, Julian showed up at her door with a bottle of Pinot Noir and a knowing smile. "Are we celebrating your upcoming success?" he asked, holding the bottle aloft. Lena invited him in, feeling lighter than she had in years. They shared laughter and deep conversation, just as they had at the wedding, but this time without the burden of secrets and tension. "I never told you, but you were my anchor through all that chaos. I don't know if I could have done it without you," Lena admitted, looking at him with a vulnerability she didn't often show. Julian took her hand, his expression serious but warm. "I wouldn't have done it without you either. That night, I realized that sometimes chaos brings clarity, and you are my clarity, Lena." The words hung in the air before Lena smiled, feeling a warmth she hadn't experienced in a long time. Perhaps, she thought, new beginnings could also include second chances at love. While Lena explored this possibility, Skylar sent postcards from Paris. In each one, she described the landscapes, the art classes, and the friends she had made. In one letter, she added a line that resonated deeply with Lena. "Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what truly matters." The story culminates with a symbolic scene. Skylar, in a gallery in Florence, is observing her first displayed work, a self-portrait that captures her journey of rediscovery. Meanwhile, Lena, at a local New York coffee shop, signs a copy of her new novel for an admirer while Julian waits for her at a nearby table. Both women, on different but equally powerful paths, had found more than justice. They had found the freedom to be who they truly were. This ending closes the story with hope and reflection, showing that even in the darkest moments, there is always a path toward the light. The lives of Skylar and Lena are a testament to the power of resilience, courage, and self-love. Did you like the story, and which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you liked the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect,